Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is David Ashley. I live on the 700 block of Tremont Street. I'm a local pastor here in Michigan City, Indiana, and also I represent I'm a chairperson for the Northwestern Indiana Ministers Conference. We have been working with the city, Michigan City, Ron Muir, and also underneath the old director, it was Dr. Jackson initially, who had quit because she was so discouraged when she was recommending certain companies to be suspended for non-compliance with the hiring orders. And Retha Riley been a notorious violator. Now I've been working with the city ever since 2013, and going to Ron Muir underneath Jeff Deutsch, he recommended that Retha Riley be suspended, and they were suspended for non-compliance. I have people who came through the program, through the Indiana plan, even in my church, where that sent them down to Retha Riley. There was no hiring. So again, this company has been a notorious violator, and trying to get the construction companies to reflect the demographics of the city has been just a pain. And I think that, of course, it's time that we adhere to the law, the hiring ordinance. I mean, it was changed initially, the language was changed. And this is the time I think that we should enforce the hiring ordinance. And I believe, of course, that after these penalties be set forth, send a message to Retha Riley. Let them know that, of course, that, listen, there's been a problem here in the city, and I think that they should not be relinquished from this penalty. Thank you.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say is the only message Retha Riley would be sent by penalizing us on the ordinance is the ordinance does apply, because per the terms of the ordinance, we followed the directions of notifications and the request for an exemption, where we were not able to meet the quota because of the lack of availability of workers. So the only message that would be sent is that the ordinance doesn't apply and we're going to fine you regardless. And that's, I'll sit. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Pastor Damon Carnes. I'm a local pastor here in the city. As Pastor Ashley said, we have been working with the city, got involved as pastors over 10 years. The key component of the ordinance, and I got in this as a novice. I didn't understand the constructions and the trades, but I became a quick study, and I did my research. And the main problem with the ordinance back then, it was never enforced. The ordinance in itself was perfect, but it had never been enforced. And then there's no accountability to enforce the ordinance. Now, we've worked with the mayor, we talked, we've had meetings. There was an oversight committee that was supposed to be in place to help out with different situations, because when you talk about hiring African Americans and Hispanics and putting them on a job, that's not the only thing. They still have to deal with racism in the job, on the construction site. And that's a huge problem. So there was an oversight committee that was presented to help alleviate, to make sure that African Americans were being hired on these jobs and being followed through with what was said to be done on the jobs. The oversight committee didn't meet for over almost 2 years. That's how important it was for them to work with the African Americans in this community. There's been so many excuses. There's been so many lies over the last 10 years. The mayor's job as an executive officer is to enforce the law. And if the mayor is not going to enforce the law, then who will? He said it himself. It was in black and white in the News Dispatch. I am the mayor of Michigan City. My job is to enforce the law. And he didn't enforce the law. He amended it. Now people are sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. We hear so many excuses. Black people are not showing up. Black people on drugs. Black people are this. Black people are that. We had some to show up and they left the job. White people do the same thing. But they still get the jobs. And they're still on the jobs. I don't understand why there's so many excuses. I came from the sports world. And in the sports world, when you are recruiting an athlete, you do whatever it takes to bring that athlete into that university or that college. There is no excuses. You go out and you find that person. When I came into the workforce, now there's all these excuses. There's no excuse when you're trying to find an athlete to bounce a basketball or to run a football or to play baseball. There's no excuses when it comes to recruiting blacks then. But now, when we're trying to get people in our community on jobs and on sites, our local people, we have people right now that are in the union, black African Americans that are in the union that have never worked in Michigan City. You have a construction company right now that's doing a job on the east side of town, and all of them are from South Bend. And we continue to hear all these excuses. The gentleman from Reith and Riley said, well, the only thing that's going to do is this, and the only thing that's going to do that. But I'm here today to let you know that black people and brown people are sick and tired of Michigan City. And now it is time for civil disobedience. And I put an emphasis on civil. So whatever the decision is, we're ready. Maybe we need to show up at some of these construction sites and we need to protest the construction site. Maybe we need to get outside entities, outside news to bring in. Because see, at the end of this, see, we're trying to be civil. We're trying to work this thing out. Because when you have people that are sick and tired and they have become hopeless in hope, then what happens? Then you get a Ferguson. Then you get a Baltimore. That's what happens. And we're trying to be civil. We're trying to come and we're trying to work this thing out. But all we have getting is lies. All we are getting is excuses. And the constructions and trades, you can go all the way back to 1932 to the Davis-Bacon Act. Before 1932, there were plenty of African Americans working in construction, building buildings, building hospitals, building roads. What happened to them? What happened to them? They were pushed out. That's what happened to them. They were pushed out. The construction and trades is the last racist frontier. And we need to put an end to it. So we're prepared. We are getting prepared. Maybe we need to vote some people out. We can do that. And get somebody in that's going to do what we need to do. Maybe we need to start protesting. Maybe we need to start showing up these construction sites. But we are prepared. We are prepared. It's been 10 years. Reith and Riley has not been compliant for over 10 years. This is nothing new. Woodruff and Son. All these companies have made millions of dollars. I don't feel sorry for not one of them. It's time to make a change. It is time to do things right. And if anybody wants to do things right, we are open for that discussion. We are open for that action. But anything other than that, then we're going to take action. We're going to take action in our own hands. Thank you.
I think we've heard enough.